Let's move on to the last segment then, where it turns out that finally, after years of asking, what if the roles were reversed, for once, for a few days, the roles have been reversed.
Hooray!
And this is terrible.
Oh.
This is a bad thing.
Oh dear.
Apparently. Now, I can understand why some people are feeling a little bit uneasy about it, and most of it seems to be coming from this. The fact that Libs of TikTok has been on a bit of a tear over the past few days, sharing the statements of a few people who've been saying on their social media on Facebook, I wish Donald Trump had been shot. Essentially saying that, oh, if only he'd been this person in particular, Darcy Pinckney, too bad they weren't a better shooter. Somebody went to confront her at the Home Depot that she works at, and as a result of her confirming that that's her, the shop has had a number of phone calls made to it from people who've been saying that they don't want her working there. They don't want to be served by this woman. And Home Depot ended up releasing this statement. Hi, this individual's comments don't reflect the Home Depot or our values. We can confirm she no longer works at the Home Depot. So this is a case of, let's be fair, cancel culture, right? She said something that people disagree with, and as a result, she got fired. Now, I would argue that the thing that she said warrants a greater pushback than what the right has been saying for years to get cancelled, because unlike what some of the examples I'll be putting out further in this segment were, it wasn't a case where she didn't want to give her pronouns or she didn't want to go with whatever the regime narrative was at the time. She actively said, this guy should have been shot. Called for violence, which most people see as being beyond the pale, as I discussed when we were talking about Destiny. But I can completely understand why some random woman working behind a counter at Home Depot has made people feel unsettled by this. Because, for one, surely, at whatever age she is working behind a counter at Home Depot is punishment enough.
That's a low blow, but I agree.
But this is the first time in a long while where there has been consequences for the left's actions. And what I want to remind people is these are the playing field. These are the rules of the game now. We are in an existential war to a certain degree. I know some people think that's hyperbole, but we are. They want to destroy our way of life. And if we were in a fight face to face and we both agreed that we would have one hand tied behind our back, and then your opponent decides to untie that hand so they can fight you both hands, if you decide to keep your hand behind your back because it wouldn't be principled to untie it because those were the rules of the game that were established at the start, you're a fool. You're going to lose, right? And these are people who for a long time have been calling for you to be deplatformed, you to have your money taken away from you. In Canada, they actually did seize people's bank accounts. People have lost jobs. People have died. And the people who killed them have barely faced any consequences for it.
And just to clarify, you don't mean people who we have political disagreements with. You mean people who support political violence.
Absolutely.
And ruining other people's lives because of slight disagreements about their politics, right?
Absolutely. I'm still very happy for there to be a range of opinions that can be expressed within what could be described as freedom of speech. Obviously, I'm a man of the West after all. That's kind of one of our foundational things. But there is a point where actively calling for people's deaths, I think most people can agree that's beyond the pale. That's crossing a line. Even if I were to go back to one of the original free speech defenders, John Locke, who was saying we should ban atheism and execute people who are atheists, I would say, hold up now, John. I know you've written some books about this, but I think that's going a tad too far, So, but I think what's important to look at is that it's not just this one person that Libs of TikTok has been going after. She's also been going after other people. Since then, she has been saying, here is a school counselor who was saying that she said that the shooter missing was disappointing to her, Amanda Brewer.
So there are multiple layers to this, obviously. On the one hand, do you want someone who wants political violence to be near other people's children? I would say no.
Instilling values in your children.
Exactly. But secondly, with that opinion comes other opinions that are more directly damaging to the children. I imagine she's probably not going to be talking in length about the children's political opinions on the Trump shooting. However, if she has that opinion of Trump, what does she think about LGBTQ ideology and other things. It comes with a whole bundle of other things that are indicative of having that sort of opinion.
And if you're a parent of the children being counseled by this person, do you want to know, are you comfortable knowing that the school counselor hates your guts and will probably try to convince your own children to hate you? We've covered a lot that goes on in schools over the course of this podcast. And I think at this point, we can all accept that if you are in a public-facing job that's funded by the state, like school counselor, like a school teacher, if you are a part of the opinion and value molding process for other people's children, you're fair game.
Mm-hmm. Well,
let's be honest.
If you're an employee of the state, I think that you have to be criticised. You know, I personally believe in, you know, abolishing state schooling altogether and having it all privately done, because
I would massively incentivize more people to homeschool, which is
that too, yeah.
Under Labour, especially going to be more difficult in the UK very, very soon, and it's already very difficult right now. But I wouldn't want this person near my children.
No.
Who would? And she resigned. So you can even, if you really feel bad about it, you can take that route as well. You know, we didn't get her fired. She resigned. And then there's other examples of this. This woman, who I believe was during lockdown. Don't quote me on this if I'm incorrect, but I'm sure I've seen this woman's face before. She was one of those people in lockdown who was saying that you should be, you know, fired if you don't get the vaccine. So this is fair play. Jennifer Ripper, teacher at Semper Elementary School, said that she's sad the shooter missed any comment. And they, in response, sent out an email that doesn't even respond to it, really. They say, oh, we condemn all expressions of political violence. Yeah, but do you condemn this one? Are you going to do anything about it? Again, are you happy for your children to be in close contact with this teacher who is going to be instilling values in them and probably trying to get them to hate you? I wouldn't be. Here's another one, another person from these schools, the Progressive Education Program.
That sounds terrifying, doesn't it?
Yep. And she posted underneath a Donald Trump post about the shooting, nobody has been this disappointed by 2 inches since Stormy.
Ooh.
Yeah. So not a great look. And again, more school. Well, this one was a Tennessee councilwoman who struck down a resolution condemning the attempted assassination and suggested that it's Trump's fault himself that it happened. What does she say?
Mr. Trump, because Mr. Trump has been calling for this and that people heeded his call.
Well, he's been calling for people to kill him.
I assume so. That's what it sounds like.
That must have gone under the radar, you know.
I think when you have an opportunity to unseat state operatives who are in positions of power, who are going to use that power to persecute you or corrupt the minds of your children, if you're in an opportunity to try and punish them for it, you should.
Mm-hmm.
These people are cowards. These people are deformed freaks who hate you, and they would do anything to see you and your way of life destroyed. And you can't really play fair game with them because they're not going to play fair game with you.
Well, to their mind, it's, you know, the ends justify the means, isn't it? And so that if that means doing untoward things to you, be it, you know, assassinate political candidates or use political violence, well, there are lots of people in America on the left that have voiced that they're perfectly happy for that to happen and even done it. So we've got the evidence, all the evidence we need.
Absolutely. And again, in that same vein, this isn't a case where we're making up our own rules to try to basically unfairly unseat these people. We're applying the same standards that have been applied to us, except more fairly. We're not turning around and saying, well, these people should be fired from their jobs because I don't know, they don't salute the American flag as often as I would like them to. Mm-hmm. They differ from me on these few ideological positions. They use different pronouns than I would like them to.
There's also an element of...
What we're doing is we're saying, these people are excusing and calling for more political violence. I think it's fair to punish them for it.
Mm-hmm. Like, there are cases where I think that some leniency can be shown. Like, if someone's wearing like a rainbow lanyard at their job, and
They
it's
don't
part of
deserve
their
to lose their job over it.
yeah. They
Well,
might not.
depending
They
on
might
what
not
kind of job
engage
it
in
is.
politics whatsoever. They might even not understand the implications of what they're wearing. Right? Not everyone is as politically switched on, and I don't think that deserves you to get
No,
the same
absolutely
treatment
not.
as the people who are pushing that sort of thing.
And if it's a disagreement over, I don't know, economic minutiae, what should the marginal tax rate be on this or that?
Bad example for me, Harry.
I know that you would go on all sorts of crusades over that sort of thing.
You believe in tax, you should be fired.
I, on the other hand, would say, okay, let's talk about it.
I'm not being serious, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Even when it comes to things like legal reform and proportional punishment in the legal system, prisons, all sorts of things are open to discussion. I think that's absolutely fair, and in a free society, that's a good thing. These people don't believe that. These people are calling for more political violence and excusing it. So, okay. But again, there's been people criticizing the right's approach to it, saying that this is a bad thing. Constantine saying that reminder that doxing people to get them fired from their jobs and cancelling comedians for jokes is just as wrong now as when the other side was doing it to you. Again, ignoring the qualitative differences between what they were getting cancelled for back in the day on the right, what they were getting cancelled for, and what's happening to these people now. The same with, same with James Lindsay as well, who said this absolute clanger. Winning wrongly is losing. Okay, so it's lose-lose, you just want to lose. Okay, so a culture war for the future of the Western civilization and all the political action that goes with that. If we win in a way that you're not happy with,
it's as good as losing.
Might as well give up.
But losing well is still losing, isn't it? As well. There is also that side of it that is the inverse of this. But I was going to say that back to the kissing tweet about comedians. Well, I've personally not heard any comedians talk about Trump, but I'm not surprised if there have been.
There was the Tenacious D.
Oh, of course, I suppose so. But there are cases in the UK, sorry to bring it to our own domestic turf, but Joe Brand talking about acid attacking Nigel Farage, you know,
and then incitement to violence.
And this, you know, he's someone who's been milkshaked a lot. You know, it's not hard to think that, okay, well, next time it's not a milkshake, it's a vial of acid. And that then would ruin his life. And this is someone joking about, you know, attacking someone. And that there was pushback. It wasn't enforced evenly. And then, you know, more right-wing comedians, the few of them that exist, make very slight jokes about political issues, not even attacking individuals. And they lose their jobs. They never work again.
And you know what they say as well? Many a truth said in jest. You can't excuse people just because they say, oh, I want to acid attack this person in a jokey tone of voice. I mean, come on. But again, what Constantine and many other people are ignoring is the difference in severity with what's going on. These people and what they're saying is a clear incitement to violence, cheering on the death of a man and the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. If you're talking about the platforms that these people are speaking on, it absolutely violates any terms of service that they have, that we have had, that they've been using to persecute us under for much less. What did we even get demonetized on YouTube for?
Well, they didn't give us a reason.
There you go. These people are only just getting a taste of their consequences. Should it be random faculty members and Home Depot employees? I mean, it can feel very petty, and I'm not going to be cheering it on happening to the random working class person who's on minimum wage. And I do think we should go for bigger targets. But these are natural consequences, and I'm not going to feel bad or shed a tear for them. If you have been saying some variation of the roles, what if the roles were reversed? Imagine when the pendulum swings for years now, and then this is your reaction the second the roles do get reversed, even on a minor way, and the pendulum swings back just a tiny,
it's only
tiny
just
bit.
Swung over, yeah.
Yeah. Then, and you don't actually have the bottle to follow through, then there are no consequences for these people. There is no roles are reversed, and they will never learn.
And they will win.
Yeah,
basically.
they will win. Remember, who you're talking to are not reasonable individual people. These are the NPCs. They have been fed their opinions by the mass media and feeling a boiling resentment for other people. You're not engaging in dialogue with the reasonable, logical opponent. You're engaging in dialogue with a rabid dog. if you're going to punish somebody, it'd be like trying to punish a child by rewarding bad behavior with sweets. If they do the same thing over and over and over again and destroy your lives and the lives of your friends and destroy your country, and then you try and just say, oh, well, what if the roles were reversed, and don't do anything to follow up, you have lost.
I think it's worthwhile bearing in mind, don't do this sort of thing blanketly.
No, of course
do it
not.
in like a case-by-case basis, right? Look at the evidence and be reasonable and reasoned about it. But I very much agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. Actually, and some people have already been making jokes and pointing out, I've made some jokes about this. Obi-Wan, no, you're only supposed to imagine if the roles were reversed, not actually reverse them. And then people have been responding to me with some funny ones. I cancelled them. And not just the politicians, but the cashiers too.
That's great.
Which was really funny. So
great Star Wars references.
Big props to people responding to me. Oron McIntyre was, oh no, my enemies can never face the consequences of their actions. And this is natural consequences. This was a particularly good one from Norm Cruise, my favourite comedian actor. Conservatives, when the pendulum swings a millimetre back in their favour after years of communist tyranny. No, I can't handle it. But let's have a reminder of what we're talking about. What have these people been cancelling you for? Why is it that you have to operate on an anonymous account on social media? Why is it that you have to keep your mouth shut in public when you want to talk about things and convey opinions that you feel, rightfully so, are perfectly reasonable and should be open to discussion? Like saying, for instance, well, if a man has a penis, then he shouldn't be a woman, because he can't be a woman. Biologically speaking, that makes no sense. Why is it that among polite company, you can't say that? Well, because we have been tyrannized. We have been tyrannized for decades.
And God forbid you bring up per capita in crime statistics.
Good God, that goes even further back. If you go back to the 1960s, you have people saying, well, you can't say that sort of thing. Don't you understand that one man had a dream, so therefore you need to destroy your inner cities on behalf of that? But, this is a really good post. People got fired for wearing a MAGA hat in their Facebook photo, for making the OK hand sign, for donating $25 to Kyle Rittenhouse's defense. People have been physically assaulted in hundreds of different incidents for supporting Trump, opposing Black Lives Matter. People have been murdered for supporting
That's
Trump.
true.
This is a good one. Aaron Danielson in Portland. Remember what happened to him? Shot in the middle of the street.
Was it some Antifa guy? Was it, I want to say Michael Reinhold.
Yeah, if you want to get that up so we can make sure we're saying it properly.
Reinhold? Hang on.
And this is a particularly bad one. 2/3 of Democrat voters wanted to put you on house arrest for not getting the vaccine. And at the time, read this, right? The highlighted portion. 45% wanted to put you in a camp, a designated facility, if you didn't want to get the vaccine.
It was Michael Reinhold.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. These are the people you're talking. These are the rabid dogs who believe whatever the media has told them that they need to believe. And they are resentful and spiteful and nasty enough to actually follow through with it. So if you can't even look at people applying the rules even remotely fairly to these same people who literally wanted to put you in a camp for not getting the vax.
Well, it's people
What are you
reacting like
doing?
a beaten dog, isn't it? They've been beaten their whole lives, and then when finally the master's hand has changed, they're still reacting in the same way. No, time is to bite, isn't it?
Absolutely. Remember as well that in Canada, a father was arrested and held in jail for violating court orders over a child's gender transition therapy. So the child is transitioning. You say, I don't want that. The school's been hiding it from you. The entire establishment is against you. And he gets arrested and taken the custody of his own child away from him because he doesn't want the child to transition and permanently damage themselves for the rest of their lives. These are the people that we're talking about. And here's some great examples. Going back to 2014, the scientist, Dr. Matt Taylor, was forced to apologize after breaking down weeping because people tried to cancel him over wearing a shirt with sexy women on it while he gave a speech.
My goodness. I mean, you could criticize it from a fashion perspective, but, it's not sexist or offensive. It's, if anything, quite flattering.
Yeah, there you go. This kid wearing a MAGA hat who stood as people beat drums in his face and smiled was misrepresented so much by the media, where people were saying Reza Aslan, remember this one? Have you ever seen a more punchable face than this kid's? How is that not incitement?
He wants to
of
punch a
violence?
child because he's smiling with political opinions different to him. It also, it turned out that the guy banging the drum in his face is known for causing trouble, and he actually,
what a surprise!
And the kid sued, I think, the media and won a lot of money. And
yes, he did. You're right in thinking about it. You are right. So at least he got some, justice for it. But that doesn't take away everything that he was put through for standing his ground peacefully. That's what these people do. They will see people expressing opinions or standing their ground peacefully, and they will ruin your life over it. And then further, Gina Carano says, hey, maybe let's not demonize people. Remember what happened in history when we demonize people so much. Disney fires her. Gone.
It wasn't even that controversial.
Well,
it was within the sort of Overton window, wasn't it?
Easily should have been. She was saying, by the way, persecution of the Jews and Holocaust was bad. Maybe let's not demonize people again.
And Hollywood hates that.
And Disney, of all people, Bob Iger, for some reason, decided, well, this is just terrible. Yep, here's the Aaron Danielson thing again. Guy literally gets shot in the middle of the street.
In the back of the head, no less, as well.
In the back of the head. Jogging or paddleboarding in 2020 could get you arrested while everybody was throwing dinner parties. It was much the same over here in the UK, where we couldn't go outside for more than an hour legally, while Boris Johnson and all the rest of them were conducting affairs and having parties with one another. Trust the science, but then, of course, when it comes to racism, that's more important than super spreader events. So racism, remember, was more of a public contagion than COVID, the thing that we destroyed the economy
I thought you were saying something else. I thought you were saying trust the science, except when it comes to race science.
Oh, well, that's another thing. I mean, you want to go back to Charles Murray and Richard Herrnstein?
Yeah.
Bell curve, they presented publicly accessible data in a scientific manner, and they got cancelled. Well, I say Richard Herrnstein had the good grace to die right before the book came out and then left Charles Murray to absorb it all himself. Charles Murray, who's been assaulted in public when he's been trying to give speeches at universities, hounded out of universities because of books that he's written about the distribution of human achievement in science over the past few thousand years.
Academic work, yeah.
Yeah, academic work over the difference in human biology. He's unable to speak in many universities because otherwise he's in danger of being physically assaulted. Contrasting the difference between Unite the Right, saying Jews will not replace us, getting, how that was handled versus black Hebrew Israelites actually trying to murder Jewish people, all these sorts of things. There are so many examples, and you can even go further back. Take it all the way back. Where does this always circle back to?
Civil rights?
No.
Civil War?
No.
The Magna Carta?
No. Gamergate.
I didn't expect that.
We get it straight back to Gamergate. Because let's not forget, this is when most people first noticed all this. What happened to the gaming industry? Well, this person, Grums, put together a very handy thread on a lot of what happened with gamer cancellations, even recently. So one of the more recent ones, Five Nights at Freddy's, Scott Cawthon. Turns out he was donating to Republicans. Turns out that he was donating to Tulsi Gabbard. His audience freaked out. Jim Sterling made a video comparing him to the KKK. And, they tried to dox him and tried to harass his wife. Fantastic. Palmer Luckey, co-creator of Oculus, was cancelled and fired from Facebook for donating to a billboard that supported Trump. Troy Livet, the guy who was the lead, I think, on Hogwarts Legacy, was forced to quit after it turned out that he was an anti-SJW. Sweet Baby Inc. tried to get some random guy cancelled because he put up a Steam curator page. Cancelled Notch for saying it's okay to be white, and they took him off of his own Minecraft credits. This is purely for presenting opinions. This is all this is. They reduced a Twitch streamer, Pick-a-Me, to tears because she decided to stream Hogwarts Legacy. If you remember, I think they had a website. They had a website tracking people who are streaming Hogwarts Legacy so they could have mass public lynchings of these people in the comments for playing a video game. This is what these people do. You can go further down, people deciding to do the OK symbol, white supremacist, Apex Legends lead balance designer was cancelled in 2021 for comments that they made in 2007, which was "women are crazy."
Wow. Cancelled for a factual comment.
It's so prevalent that the Game Developers Conference this year ran a panel on what to do if you get cancelled and how you can apologize. This is the culture that they have created for the most minor infractions. And people call for violence. People call for death. People celebrate the death of a family man who died protecting his family. And you wring your hands and you say, oh, this is terrible. I'm not going to cheer on that some random woman from Home Depot gets fired. I don't think those are the sorts of targets that we should be going for. But do I believe for a second that she wouldn't be celebrating if I was dead? If Josh was dead? If you were dead? No. This isn't the time to be giving treats to the rabid dog.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters. And if you want to see what else we're up to, you can follow Connor's series, Tomlinson Talks, where he has a deep dive on Westminster politics. Here he's talking about Labour's plan to abolish Britain. If you want to see all of the other things that we're putting out, you can follow us on Twitter, and we always post links to all of the work going out. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.